It's not Eden, but he did it. It's not the cool of the garden at the time of the evening breeze. It's the Galilean plains and a soft wind is blowing in from the south, coming off of the sea. But hey, that's close enough. He did it. It's not the shade of the tree of life. It's the shade of the cedars that grow in abundance. But it really doesn't matter. He doesn't care because he did it. He physically made it back to us. God walks with us again. For the first time since the fall, God walks with us again. We can see him. We can touch him. We can hug him. We're looking into his eyes once again. He did it. He kept the promise he made in Genesis 3:15 that he would come back. The eternal God, hid from his children because of our sinfulness, has found a way to become so much like us that we'll call him the Son of David, the Son of Man. We'll even call him the second Adam. And so much unlike us, we'll worship him as the Son of God. He did it. Just when sin, Satan, and life said we were forgotten and didn't matter, God did it. Look at him. I mean, seriously, look at him. He's sitting on the side of a hillside in Galilee, looking like us. He's dressed in our human flesh. He's covered by our clothes. God is once again literally with us. There is so much to say. So much time has elapsed. So many prophets have spoken on his behalf. So much has been done that needs to be undone. He doesn't have a large block of time. We read the Gospels in retrospect and realize he only has 3.5 years. True to who he has always been throughout the biblical story, he doesn't begin with words. He begins with actions. In Matthew 4:23-25, it's his actions that earn him the right to speak the words of God. It's his actions among the lost, dispossessed, the disenfranchised, the easily forgotten and all too often dismissed that earn him the right to speak his manifesto on that mountainside in Galilee. There's something powerful about a manifesto, about the laying of your life and your heart on the line for people to read, for people to see and be moved by, inspired and transformed by. Essentially, every manifesto is a declaration of values and intentionality. It declares, this is how I will live. This is how I will be. This is who I will be in the world. A great manifesto looks for more, sees more, demands more, moves from the expectation of more. It's year one of his ministry. He acts, then begins to speak with power. His teachings are a revelation of the 3 core principles in life of the hearers and everyone that would one day read his teachings. It's the core principle of life, social life and spiritual life, and its effect on national life. It's the core principle of renewal of purpose, renewal of hope, renewal of meaning. And it's the core value of restoration of identity and authority, and once again, the kingdom of God being with man. You know, I think about everything that's taking place in the gospel and everything that takes place in the stories of Jesus, and I'm constantly asking myself the question, how do I choose to live with this reality of God in my own life? How do I choose to move from day to day with this reality of God in my own life? I feel like that's a question we all need to ask each other. You see, the words and the actions of Jesus are not some kind of ecstatic divine sweetener to excite our spiritual taste buds. They're not a suggestion of what the kingdom would like to be. The kingdom is announcing what our reality is. Jesus is not simply doing a fix-up job on the broken law and prophets. He's not just restoring right thinking about how we interpret the law. He is literally renewing the way in which we see God. He's not just calling us to live this manifesto. He is living it up front. He is living it in plain view. He is living it before our very eyes. It's year one and the season of expectation. But year 3 will come quick, and his final week even quicker. That week will begin with the greatest manifestation of his power to date, the raising of Lazarus. But wait, Sunday morning still awaits. He will ride into Jerusalem to the cry of "Hail him who comes," and all the teaching, healing and power of his 3.5 years of ministry will coincide in Jerusalem. So, whether it is the king who sits on a Galilean mountainside in year 1, or the same king who rides into Jerusalem for the last time in year 3, we all have to decide what it is we do with Jesus. His actions have already earned him the right to speak to us. It's his words that now demand our attention. The kingdom is here, and it's always speaking. It's always speaking into the human condition. It's always speaking into the human reality. But its reality, however, is always going to disappoint the heart that isn't listening. Because it's a kingdom of the heart. It's a kingdom of the spirit. He rides into Jerusalem to take back all the kingdoms of this world, including the kingdoms in our heart that keep him on the outside. The throne he rides to be enthroned upon is a wooden throne. It's a shameful throne. It's not a throne of his making, but for our sakes. It's a throne of his choosing. Our expectation always falls short of God's reality. Why? Because God is always choosing more for us than we know to ask, think, or imagine. He acts in year 3 out of his manifesto statement in year 1. He does for us on the cross what he would wish us to do for him if the tables were turned. He lives and dies and lives forevermore because of this manifesto. Here's an action point for you. During this COVID-19 moment, when the whole world is on pause, I want you to think about your own life manifesto. I want you to write it down. And I want you to remind yourself and God who you want to be in this world, what your manifesto of faith and life and love and difference will be in this world. And then I want you to share it with someone.